Let's shift into another thing that's very relatable to a lot of women, including me, being a single mom.
Hmm. I feel like more than a mother-daughter relationship with them, I feel a soul connection to them. And
Mhm.
they truly are two of my best friends. It was harder when they were younger. Like now it feels we've been in this flow for a while. We got divorced in 2016 and he was pretty much out of the picture pretty immediately. And so it has just been the three, even before that, it was kind of just the three of us. So it's
Yeah,
been really the three of us for
yeah,
so long now that it just feels um, just normal, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's so wonderful. Hi, Thrivers. Welcome back to Thrive with Sharon podcast. I am Sharon Land, and I am your host, as well as a holistic psychotherapist, a international high performance mentor, and best-selling author, amongst other things. And I have a fellow best-selling author here with me today. I'm so excited. This is the beauty of going outside your regular scope and comfort zone and allowing yourself to be held by other communities. And then the next thing you know, your community gets bigger and your life gets richer. And that's kind of how I feel about this connection with our guest today. Her name is Raina O'Dell, and she is the latest and greatest. She's probably the last publication from Landon Hale Press, who we both are published by the same company. And her book is called Bear. And it is literally a bear all. And she talks about her life story. She talks about her journey. She shows journal entries of just like things that she was being prompted by her therapist, and like raw and real, and talks about all of the kind of stuff that's under the hood that a lot of people don't always necessarily like to talk about, but does it in a really beautiful way. So Raina, welcome to the show. I can't wait to
Thank
have this
you.
conversation.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. It sounds so crazy to be announced as this best-selling author. That feels so like,
But I know, but you are like, it's kids,
I know.
it can't be undone,
I know. I know.
right?
I've always struggled with celebrating myself and like soaking
Mm.
in accomplishments. And so just I think this whole process is kind of forcing me to recognize these things and acknowledge them and celebrate myself and step into this different version of myself, I think.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you share that, because I really do feel like it's important for us to talk about what some of our challenges are to be able to like get to
Mm.
this front facing position. So many people misinterpret the reasons why we show our faces and we tell our stories, right? Um,
Yeah.
and I really believe that women, especially, have an extra amount of fear for retaliation or for some negative consequence for actually stepping forward, right?
Yeah.
And although there are people who step forward and manufacture presence and manufacture this kind of, essence of themselves that really isn't true, just so that they can gain attention and notoriety and, try and, gain abundance and all of that stuff. But that's not the case for the majority of women.
Yeah.
The majority of women have really gone through it. And not taking away from other people who have been marginalized, but just speaking specifically about our identity, is
Yeah.
we really have had a lot of negative consequences for speaking truths.
Mm. We have. I think the more we speak about that, the more women come out of the woodwork, also acknowledging their,
Mhm.
experiences in that also. I have been on my social media platform on Instagram and Facebook and all these things for over a decade now. And I think in previous lives, I was that person that was kind of chasing and wanted to be seen and all of these things maybe for a different reason. And growing into the woman I am today, I think I've been able to release a lot of that, but also, the hate that comes with it and the beauty that comes with it. It's just, I think it's just a roller coaster.
So and I love the fact that we're talking about multiple lifetimes, right? In the essence of
Yes.
the soul, right?
Yeah.
And every expression of the soul isn't necessarily in the feminine, right? So we know that as well. However, many of us in our journeys have, you know, transcended times through being in the feminine essence. And I'm just wondering what the difference is for you. Where are the nuance shifts for you now? Acknowledging the fact that maybe in past lives that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
How did that happen? What was the catalyst?
Well, so I don't know if you know, but I actually used the word lives in my book.
Yeah.
And so I do believe, I am the woo woo that believes that, we have multiple lives, and
Oh,
I am in, yeah, am I in good company?
oh, yeah. No, this is not
Okay,
this
good.
is not the first time I'm having this conversation, and definitely not the first time the community is having this conversation. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
good, good. Well, and I also say, not talking about, soul lives, I think I have felt like in this current lifetime, I've lived many lives, right? I have my
mm-hmm.
book, I actually go through each chapter is actually labeled life number one, life number two, life number
Yeah,
three, and all the way through 40. Because even in this current human experience, I feel like I have lived several different lives through several different seasons, through several different versions of myself to get to the person I am now.
mm-hmm.
Um, and I don't know, I just think there's so much beauty in that. And the whole message of my book is where we are isn't where, or where you are isn't where you're always supposed to be, or where you always have to be. And I think that's the purpose of us coming and living these lives, is to have
Yeah,
that growth and to have all of these experiences and leave behind versions of ourselves, so that when we make a big circle and come back around into the next body, we are that old soul, right? That person that has that soul that's lived and experienced and has collected just this toolbox full of tools and lessons to share. I don't know. That didn't even answer your question? What was your original question?
yeah. No, I mean, well, yeah. So I mean, to reflect on what you just shared. I mean, if we allow ourselves to grow in each lifetime, and sometimes a lifetime in this physical body, in this physical container, you get the opportunity when you're kind of on this rapid kind of ascension process, right? Which
Mm-hmm.
it sounds like you've really experienced in this physical body, and it's very relatable to me as well. That you gain so much wisdom, and that wisdom doesn't go away, right?
Yeah.
Um, and just to kind of like add a little bit to that, the soul and the mind travel from lifetime to
Mm.
lifetime, right? So if we just store things in our brain, we're not carrying that forward.
Mm.
So if you're the type of person that, and I'm not saying you, but just in the community who's listening, right? Like voracious readers are wonderful, and they have like a kind of we're authors, like we want you to read, but it's really about the embodiment piece, because if you don't allow that needle to be thread down into your physical existence, then there's no wisdom to be gained, right?
Yes.
So it's about the mind, and the mind isn't the brain where we store information. The mind is the connected to the great one that knows all,
Mm.
right? The
I love
infinite
that.
source of wisdom, right? So yeah, like so just to support what you're saying and allow us to really marinate on that concept, it's really, really beautiful. And it's really, really important for us to understand, because I don't know about you in your lifetime, and I know you've expressed a lot of these legacies of wisdom that you've experienced in this physical body, but many of us think, and we're taught, like by our structural systems, we're taught like just store the information in your brain, regurgitate it the way somebody wants you to, and then you get a pass and you get to the next door, and then you can go through that door, right?
Mm.
So um so yeah, maybe we can like mix my original question, which is like what catalyzed you into that, and like what is the real juicy wisdom that you've gained through that embodied
Oh my
experience.
gosh. I mean, I feel like there's been lessons just pouring out. I don't know. I like my story and the book and the lives and all of this goes through this dependency, I think, or expectation that someone at some point was going to swoop in and save me from life. Whether that be, as I navigated single parenting or as I navigated divorce or I struggled with illness, and we can talk about that later if we want to, but there were so many different things that I think happened in my life where I was constantly just waiting for somebody to save me. And that took me through relationships and, things with my parents. And it was always external, right? I was always kind of searching for this external thing to be the solution. And I think the biggest lesson I've gained so far in this lifetime is that I am the one that's going to save myself. Do you know what I mean? Like, I am the one that has the ability to, like I say in my book, like hold my own hand and hold my own hair back and pick myself back up. And you know what I mean? All of these things, I feel like I have been in a massive journey of learning self-love and giving myself what I read in a book once, that it said something along the lines of whatever you're craving or whatever you're not happy with in your relationship or whatever you're not getting in some way, shape, or form is exactly what you need to start giving yourself.
Yes.
And I made a list of all of those things, of like everything I'm not getting from other people and everything I'm not getting in my relationship and everything that I am craving that I've been waiting to just arrive. And I then made a list next to it of like, okay, how can I start giving myself these things?
Yeah.
And that became I just got goosebumps. That became my focus for a full year, and my life transformed. Not even just my external, but the internal just transformed. And it was that realization of like, holy cow, I've been the answer all along. I've just been searching for anything outside myself.
Yeah, and that's so common.
Yeah.
Because so being a holistic psychotherapist and a mystic and, kind of like intermingling all of that, there is something that happens that goes awry from the divine plan in our early childhood, right? Which in our
Right.
lifespan development, which kind of causes that constant outward seeking, right? Because we have these needs that need to be met. I mean, we literally are born with basic needs. It's how we are wired. It's how we are meant to live. We're wired for connection, right? We're wired to be attuned. We don't have the ability to attune ourselves, and so many times we're put in these positions where we're then programmed to believe that we cannot exist without, some sort of external input, as opposed to a conscious parent, a parent who understands what their job is in the divine way, right? And in the root of all existence, that we're all here to serve. And if we understand past lives, we also realize that like your mother could actually be like your brother from another life
Yes.
or something,
Yes.
right? So we're all here just
100%.
to usher each other home,
Yeah.
right? And the way
Yeah.
that we do that is honoring the sacredness and the wisdom that we hold inside. And so like what you're speaking of is like seeking for things outside of yourself for the answers is like so palpable for to me and to so many people, I'm sure, who are listening right now. It's so relatable. And to understand that I am, right? I am that I am. And not only that, but like you are the keeper of the wisdom here, right? So you have to go on that inward journey to find out what that is. You can't conceptualize it. You can't say, oh, I'm all that I need, right? But you have to find out, like, what do you need?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like, there's so much beauty in hindsight. Like I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, I would have, like, how much earlier would I have gotten to this point if I had not been raised the way I was, or had the childhood that I had, or the parents that I had, or any of the, like, I grew up And my parents divorced when I was 6, and my dad started preaching. So I grew up in a missionary Baptist
Oh,
home. And
wow.
so it was ingrained in me that it wasn't me, it was God. It was something out there that like was
Mm.
going to provide
Mhm.
exactly what I needed. And so there was a lot of, I think, releasing of old beliefs and old
Oh,
stories and old, wired instincts that I've really had to kind of work through letting go. And that didn't happen until my 30s, So I feel like I'm so new into this spiritual awakened type journey that, like, even just listening to you talk, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so good. Like, teach me everything because I'm just so new to it. But I feel so deeply, like, just through this book writing process, like, it's just opened my eyes so much to
to that.
what we're here for and capable of and all of these things.
And the knowing, like that's the thing
Yeah.
I think is so I love it so much that when
Yeah.
I meet someone like you and they've been like kissed on the head, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that awakening occurs
Yeah.
and you start those faithful steps, right? Into the unknown, into the
Mm.
places where, it's uncomfortable and it's obviously painful to go inward. Um it's painful to disconnect from another human existence, right?
Yeah.
And I understand the God concept that you were indoctrinated with in religion. Um, and I'm not here to say what's right or wrong.
Right.
All I'm saying is when we believe and we're being told by another human being what our where our sustenance is supposed to come from, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's usually some sort of self-serving aspect for the human
Yes.
beings, right? And for the
Yeah.
culture, for the society, and all of those things, right?
Yes.
And we know that we have this knowing because it's one of the reasons why we don't feel good, right? We
Mm-hmm.
illness occurs and things,
Yeah.
disease comes into all different aspects of our lives. Like in your book, you mentioned, your divorce and your, just relational stuff and whatever. It touches anything.
Yeah.
Um, but it also is very hard too, because once we
Yeah.
actually disconnect and we really do feel like we're autonomous, right? We also realize how much we might have in our own like tools of survival projected on other
Mm.
people too, right? Like you
Yeah.
just said, I'm not here to like, I didn't have a great childhood. Like probably there's part of me that wish that things would have been different. However, like I'm hearing this like great amount of self responsibility,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Or like
Yeah.
for that moment of just saying like it was what it was, but I'm
Yeah.
still here, and so
Yeah.
I gotta I gotta do something, right? Because like
Yeah.
soul is like burning, it's like literally
Yeah.
on fire, it's like ready to go, and I can see that in you. Like I can see your soul is just on fire to be able to help other
Yeah.
people, and I love how you're serving, right? So
Thank
from
you.
from a mystical standpoint, what part of being a mystic is recognizing that you cannot stand on a mountain of suffering
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
think that you're not going to suffer, right?
Mm.
We are here to
Yep.
right? So like I
Yeah.
love the fact that like it's a tangible texture of
Mm.
who you are, and reading parts of your book and getting to know you and talking to you is it's just very it's wonderful to see. It's great.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. I also believe, like, and again, newly believe this, that I picked this life, right? I picked my
Mhm.
parents, I picked my brothers and sisters, I picked my friendships, I picked my relationships, I
Yes.
picked the businesses that I navigated through. And I am constantly reminding myself of that. And I think because of that, I can have gratitude towards my parents and my childhood, and gratitude towards my ex-husband, and gratitude towards my
Yeah.
illness. You know what I mean? Like all of these things that I think someone else might have that woe is me and feel
Mm.
bad for me, and this like sitting in this self, you know,
Mhm.
negativity. I don't have that because I really do believe that I picked all of this, and that whatever's coming is beautiful, and it's not going to be perfect, but I know I'm here and I picked all of these things. And it's just, I can even look at like, the vision that I have and where I'm going and what I'm working towards, and recognize even just in the last couple of years, these almost like stairs that the universe has kind of placed, that it's like, okay, this is, and then this, and then we're going to go this way and then this way. And I can just see how beautifully orchestrated all of it is. And none of that would have happened had I not had the history that I have or the experiences I had. So there's a lot of gratitude in that, I think, for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I I I can understand exactly what you're saying, and it's very relatable.
Yeah.
And you can't bypass becoming aware of what your experiences were and how it affected you, and then just be
Yeah.
grateful, right? You do have to kind of go through it to understand, like, oh, this is mine, this is not mine, right? Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right. But
for sure.
but the ultimate is to get to that place of just surrender to the great all,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like no one's
Yeah.
perfect. You're a mom, I'm a mom. Um, I know that there are things that I have in through working through my own karmic experiences that I've done that, have hurt my children. Um, but I also know that, like you said, they chose me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm not here to be perfect. You're not here to be perfect. And I love that you allow yourself to just kind of show the messy, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so let's talk a little bit more about the medical aspect of
Mm.
things, because it got serious.
It got shitty, no pun intended. I don't know if I can cuss on this
Oh yeah.
podcast, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it got shitty. Yeah, I was diagnosed in 2015, early 2016, with like a mild case of ulcerative colitis. Um, I didn't even know what ulcerative colitis was back then. Like I had to Google it, and it's like disease in the intestines and autoimmune thing and all this stuff. So I was like, cool. And took a medication, and I, through diet and exercise, kind of went into remission for several months. Um, and then October 2016, I filed for divorce. I was married to an addict. We'd been married for 10 years, and he had struggled for 10 plus years with addiction, of every sort. And when I filed for divorce, I was then a single parent. He ended up cleaning out my bank accounts and moved to Austin, Texas with a girlfriend. Like it was just a very traumatic, stressful time. And because of that, my ulcerative colitis kind of flared back up again. And from that point on, I did everything I could to kind of, do the food stuff and the nutrition stuff and all of the things I knew that kind of put me into remission the first time. Um, and none of it worked. I went through months, years of like literally pooping my pants because I had no control over my bowels. I was glued to the couch, glued to bed, couldn't take my kids to school, like couldn't leave the house. I would have an accident in the grocery store. I had an accident while I was on the acupuncture table. Like it was awful. I ended up I had 3 surgeries total. They removed my entire large intestine and some of my small intestine. And so I have an ileostomy now. So I have a bag on my stomach, and it's permanent unless some magical science something happens to make that go away. It's something I'll live the rest of my life with. And I had my final surgery in February of 2018,
Mm.
and left the hospital on no medication. I have a piece of my intestine that hangs out of my stomach, and I'm not on any medication. And I'm still to this day kind of like, holy crap, how is that even possible? But I healed so much of my insides through that process while I was also healing my physical body. Um, and yeah, I say all the time, and it's even in the book, like I feel like I got my life back after having those surgeries. And I have zero complications now. Like I don't think if you saw me on the street you would even know. And
Yeah.
just out here living my best life and healing, have been healing from these surgeries and all of those the illness and all of that. And it's kind of non-existent now other than the physical bag on the outside of my body. So,
Right.
yeah.
So it's so interesting to, from a lens of a witness, right?
Mm,
To look at the journey in the guide map,
yeah.
right? And so many times we do a lot to help ourselves, and we follow the instructions, and we do the diet, and we do all
Yeah.
of these things. But if we don't kind of get to what the underlying issue, although you were
Yeah.
in the process of doing that, obviously you were uncoupling, you were finding your way to
Yeah.
health and all of those things. And people, many times when they come to me, they kind of want a guarantee, right?
Mm,
It's like, show me the tangible evidence that I'm
yeah.
not going to have these pain points, right? Like
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I'm not God. Like I like, and there, I believe in the ability to heal and transform any and all things,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
This is a wonderful example of the fact that you you learned and you grew and you healed from the
Hmm.
experiences. You transmuted and alchemized everything that you could from
Yeah.
everything that was being presented to you, whether
Yeah.
it was subtle or not, known or not. You were just like, I'm going to do these things, and I don't even know what the result is, but I know that it's going to be better than what it is now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes we get to the point where we can't not see something and have to address it.
Yeah.
So in your
Yeah.
case, that was that. And so, yes, while you do have the physical evidence of that, right, that will be part of your experience here, you still were able to heal
Yeah.
the root cause.
Yeah. You know, I got divorced when I was 30. And that I said, in my 30s is kind of when I released like old beliefs and all of these things. And I think that was released with a husband and a life that I thought I was going to have. Like there was just this deep shedding,
Mm-hmm.
where I kind of then at the age of 30 was catapulted into like, okay, who am I? What do I believe? All at the same time while I'm going through all of these health issues.
Yeah.
And I fast forward, even just a couple years, and I can't help but think, and again, I don't have any regrets, and everything that happened was supposed to happen, but I go, oh my gosh, if I knew what I know now, I don't know that I would have an ileostomy. I think there would have been some
Mm-hmm.
deep rooted healing that could have been done and release it. You know what I mean? Like I go back and
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I gave in too soon. I picked my ostomy too soon. Like I had these surgeries too soon. And also it was exactly what I was supposed to do. If it happened at this age, in this life, in this season that I'm in, I'd be healed right up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I totally get that. It's
Yeah.
interesting. Just total rabbit hole conversation, but just like in exactly lockstep with what you're talking about. I work with a functional medicine doctor and her belief, and she and I have talked about this a little bit, but her belief is you need to have all of these scans, and you need to have the mammogram and the colonoscopy and the bone thing and the whatever. And I'm like, I'm okay. I'm down for the bone scan, right? I'm fine even with the mammography and all of that stuff, but I want you to know what my personal belief and philosophy is if anything's discovered. Because
Mm-hmm.
just because I'm saying yes to the scan doesn't mean I'm saying yes to the medical treatment that is
Your treatment.
for it, right?
Yeah.
So if something comes back, you will see me on a plane and I will be going to Peru or
Yes.
with my spiritual master, right? Like I
Yeah.
am not,
Yeah.
I am so like I already know where I need to
Yes.
go and what I need to do, right?
Yep. Yep.
God forbid, right? Anything, cancel, sweep it away. All good things are in our path.
Yeah.
However, like I don't subscribe. I
Yep.
just don't subscribe, right?
Yeah.
However, I am 100% with you. I have also had my own, like
Yeah.
we're like soul sisters because
Yeah, I think so.
I haven't shared like I had a lot of, this just through my own like, not
Yeah.
treated trauma from early childhood development and all of that. Like I had a lot of autoimmune things, and one of which was, with it impacted my colon and my intestines and digestion, and I have celiac and all of this other stuff, right? And there was
Mm.
a lot of damage of undiagnosed celiac, for
Yeah.
20 years, right? Uh,
Yeah.
that was done, and I'm still healing from that, and I have been healing from that since 2006, right?
Mm.
So it takes a long time, and so people who
Yeah.
are looking for that kind of bypass, right? And I'm not saying you did or were or are, but I'm just saying like people are always looking for the bypass. And because
Yeah.
we want the results now, we want
Yeah. Yeah.
tangible like proof, the scientific proof and the whatever. And it's just like, you know, there's no
Yeah.
guarantee in anything. However, I always know that when I connect from me to source,
Mm.
God, the universe, and then to the world, I'm never out of step,
Yep. Yep.
right?
Well, and I remember having my surgeries and being totally in acceptance of it, of like, okay, this is my new reality. What do I need to do? I joined some Facebook support groups because that's what the nurses suggested.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
hop on these Facebook support groups and
Uh-huh.
everybody's eating pizza and cheeseburgers and sharing pictures of all of their medication and complaining about how shitty they feel and woe is me. And I'm just like, oh my, this is not going to be my story. This is
Nope.
not going to be my story. And so and it was I am not subscribing to that. And that moment in my hospital bed, I was like, that's not, that will not be my story. So I was like, I refused medication leaving the hospital. I was like, nope, I know what I need to do. I know what I need. I know how I need to think. I know how I need to live. Like I was not going to, that was just not going to be how my life played out. You know what I mean? And I could
Yep.
feel it. And I think it was very hard to leave and being so public on social media, because I shared on social media that I had my surgeries. I had people reach out saying, "Oh my gosh, I've got the same thing," and and I still have messages to this day of, "How are you feeling so good?" and "How are you? How are you? How are you? How are you?" And I'm like,
Mhm.
it's a how I'm living and thinking, and
Yes.
like it's so much deeper than what am I eating? You know
Oh
what I mean? Or
my
what am I
gosh. Yes.
taking? Or
Yeah, because we're just looking to check boxes, right? And
yes,
I want to just do the same thing that Raina does, right? So I
yeah,
get the
yeah,
same result. And it's like, no,
yeah,
kind of going back to what we talked about a little earlier, which is just like, what is it that you need?
yeah, yeah,
Right? Which is very
yeah.
nuanced. Even though
Yeah.
the end result looks like this, I take ballroom dancing. I just started
Ah, how
two,
fun.
2 months ago. I love it so much. And so I have multiple private dance instructors. And so I've been dancing with this other instructor for, I don't know, 4 lessons. And then now yesterday I had an instruction, and I've done like instruction with like professional coaches who like judge all over the country and world. And when
Amazing.
they come in and do all these things and they like teach me all these new moves, it's so much fun. So I'm training with this other teacher, pro yesterday, and he was teaching me this thing, and he said, I'm just going to teach you a new move, and didn't tell me what the move was. He didn't like show me what the move was. He just said, I'm going to teach you this new move. And as he's teaching it to me, it's like a 10-step something or other, right? So as he's teaching it to me, I'm like, okay, all right, okay. And I was like, we just need to do it. And he said, okay. And it turned out to be like something that my other instructor taught me like 5 lessons ago or whatever. But I don't even know. I can't remember the name of the street that's next to mine. Like I didn't remember the name of it. Right.
Yeah.
And I thought, isn't that interesting? Like the way that he taught it and the way that he unpacked it and the way that we moved and the way that we executed it was totally different than the other teacher, but the end result was exactly the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Um,
Yeah.
Minus like a little bit of different like personality flair. And, he was kind of like having me go in this direction. Like the flair was a little different, but the steps
Yeah.
were the same, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The execution was
Yeah.
the same. So it's kind of that, right? Where
Yeah.
how many ways can you get to the goal of optimal health?
Yeah.
So many, right? But
Endless amounts.
it's endless, which is why like I
Yeah.
don't take it personal if somebody just doesn't, work with me, right, to
Yeah.
help to optimize their health and their life. Same way that like I
Yeah.
would I want people who are aligned to connect
Yeah.
right? Which is why this podcast is so great, which is why, people find one another through all of these different resources and mediums.
Yeah.
And then we find like what we're aligned for on our journey. And
Yeah.
then we don't become attached to it. We just kind of connect with it. And then we
Hmm.
connect and then we say, okay, it's time to fly. And then you
Yeah.
find to connect to,
We
right?
take what we needed
It,
from that, what our soul needed from
yeah.
that interaction or that friend. Yeah, I completely agree. I
Yeah.
completely agree.
So I am with you. I think that you are exactly where you need to be.
Mm,
And you're a vessel of healing, right? And it's
yeah.
going to look different than other vessels of healing, but
Yeah.
your resonance, your energetic and vibrational resonance is sending a signal out to someone else who needs it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I believe that. I believe that. And I would get um like messages while I was in the hospital or when I was home healing. And this is just, I guess, sharing about like sharing a lot of this so that I knew I needed to talk about it because
yeah.
even through divorce and through just random things in my life, I've used my social media platform as a way to connect with people, knowing that I was like, I think I'm supposed to share these things
Hmm.
so that, like we said, so that one person could take that one nugget I said and it is like the thing that changes the trajectory of their life in whatever shape or form.
Hmm.
So I remember going live from the hospital the
Hmm.
night before I went into surgery, crying in my hospital gown, and people on my live like commenting and responding and all these things. And I'd get home and I was healing and I was sharing the journey and I had like a pick line and all and nurses coming
Wow.
and IV nutrition and all this stuff. And I would get messages like, like, thank you for sharing this. My mom died of Crohn's disease and I wish she was here to be able to see how you lived with it. Or I just get goosebumps again. Like just messages like that were like, oh my God, this is why I'm going through this. I still to this day, even, years later after having the surgery, like people will reach out saying, like, I see how you're living and it's giving me hope for I have the surgery next week, or I had the surgery 2 months ago, or whatever it is. And I'm just like, I am right where I am supposed to be.
Mhm.
So that whoever needs to see it gets the messages and the words or the inspiration or the whatever it is that they're supposed to receive from me.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that we can all take a lesson from that book. I'm probably I share. I mean, obviously I wrote a book about my life and so it's all
Yeah.
out there, right? But in the moment, I would say it's hard for me.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to share. So that's really beautiful and powerful that you were able to do
Yeah.
that. Uh
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
a generational thing too, because I'm
I think
we're
so. I
different
think it is. I
generations. So.
think it is. Well, and I even like I coach, female entrepreneurs, and a lot of them are like wanting to start new businesses and stuff. And so I'm like, okay, this is what we're doing on social media. And there's there's so
uh,
much
yeah,
fear around
yeah,
putting yourself out there. But I think I did it at a time where everyone was kind of trying it. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like now, a lot of people do it. And I think there's fear going into that world now where then it was like, cool, we're all just doing this. Okay, I guess we're just doing this.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I feel like it comes a little easier to me than it does some. But yeah,
Yeah. Well, and that's great. I mean, may you find
yeah,
some ease on your journey, right?
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It
Yeah,
doesn't have to be so hard.
yeah.
Um,
Very true. Very true.
so let's shift into another thing that's very relatable to a lot of women, including me, being a single mom.
Hmm. Where do I start?
Yeah.
Yeah, gosh, they're almost eight. My oldest will be 18 next month. And then I have a 16 and a half year old. So two teenage girls. Do you have girls or boys?
I have girls, two girls,
Yeah. Oh, I am a girl mom too.
women now, young
Yes,
women,
yes. Okay.
26
How
and
old are they?
20, 26 and
Oh,
20.
that's crazy.
So
That's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're great.
Yeah, it's they're my best friends. And I know I feel weird saying that because then you hear people be like, they shouldn't be your friends, you should be a parent and all these things. But I feel like more than a mother-daughter relationship with them, I feel a soul connection to them.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
they truly are two of my best friends. And
Well, you also
I
had
just,
them young.
I had them so, I grew up
Yeah.
with them.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? I had
exactly.
them, I was 18 when I had my almost 18-year-old.
Yeah,
So
which
there
that's,
was
I hear
so
that a
much.
lot with young mommies.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah. So, and and that's something also that I'm like, I wouldn't change that either. If I had to go back and wait till later in life or make a different decision, I'm like, no, that was like,
Perfect.
even though we're divorced, yeah, it was exactly what it was supposed to be. And I love the relationship I have with them now. Is it, super, no, they call me bruh like all the time. You know what I mean? There's like all kinds of little things that I'm like, okay, this is not, I'm not your bruh, but it's
We're
fine.
gonna like, course correct that one. Yeah.
Yeah, just, little things. And it's not
Yeah.
perfect, but it is, I have so much fun with them. It's,
Right.
it was harder when they were younger. Like now it feels we've been in this flow for a while. We got divorced in 2016 and he was pretty much out of the picture pretty immediately. And so it has just been the three, even before that, it was kind of just the three of us. So it's
Yeah.
been really the three of us for
Yeah.
so long now that it just feels just normal, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so wonderful. And
Yeah.
I understand that connection. I don't know any different. So I haven't had
Yeah.
boys. I thought I was going to have boys.
Yeah.
But I had two beautiful daughters and they're so different.
Mm.
And it's like one of the most beautiful, magical and humbling experiences being a parent,
Yeah. It
being a
is.
mother. And there's such magic that they bring to
Yeah.
your life because they really allow you to see a lot that's within you,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Well, the book I dedicated to them, and I wrote something along the lines of them not like hopefully this book shares, but I don't think they knew how much of like an anchor they were for me in so many different. I mean, I was again 18 when I had them, so
Mhm.
growing up, they were just like such an anchor for me that kept me just okay. Like it almost just focused more than I probably would have been had I not had them,
Mhm. Mhm.
or
Mhm.
on a better path than I would have been had I not had them. So
Yeah,
it's
I
interesting.
totally understand that. I love that you dedicated your book to your daughters.
Yeah.
That's
They
so
cried when they read that and I was like, "Oh, I did
uh
it. I
ah
did it." I got her. Got her into
yeah.
tears.
Yeah. My oldest read my book and didn't let me know. She just did it on her own. She lives on her own. She's a major adult now, right? So
Yeah.
like she read it and didn't tell me. I didn't know. And then she wrote a review and put it on Amazon. And that's
Oh
how
my
I saw that
gosh.
she had read the book. And I just cried.
Yeah.
They knew I was writing the book. I asked their permission, I really wanted it to not, I wanted them to be ready,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And um and they were like, do it and write it all.
Yeah.
Do it and
That's what
write it
my
all.
girl said.
Right? Oh
Yes.
God, what a
Yes.
blessing.
Oh, it is. And it also, and I'm sure you feel the same way. Like there was this sense of like, now they know. Like now they know everything.
Mhm.
And I struggled a lot after our divorce. They were young, I don't even know how long ago now. I think they were like 8 and 9 or 8 and 10 or something like that. And um, my oldest mourned it, realized what was happening, all that kind of stuff. My youngest didn't, and kind of, went through this like, okay, cool, like just
Didn't know
totally
how it was going to
dismiss.
affect her life. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And then, as years go by my ex is distant and I'm kind of, the parent and all these things, there's a lot of, I think, resentment or things like that were kind of built up from them and just changed the dynamic of the relationship just a little bit. And so I felt really good like getting their blessing and writing this, and also having them read it and hearing them come to me and like almost have this like holy crap, I didn't know.
Mhm.
And that to me was just like that. That's why I wrote it. That was just for you guys, just so you guys had the information.
I just
Because
got the chill. I love that so much. It's just,
yeah,
it's, gosh, we have a lot of similarities, but yeah, it's so beautiful because that's what being a parent is all about, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
ushering them through, mentoring things without, being authoritative,
yeah,
allowing people to see and make their own discernment and judgments, allowing other people to witness you.
mm, yeah,
And they couldn't witness you before they were around and when they were too young,
yeah,
right? So they get to
yeah,
witness you, and even though I'm sure there's a lot of things that are not implied in their life, that they'll need the tools that you've
yeah,
gained or
yeah,
shared, but they'll remember
yeah,
and it'll be there when they need it.
yeah,
And
no,
that's the legacy piece that's so beautiful,
yeah,
with sharing your truth and sharing it from such a great heart space,
mm,
and to do that, for your children and for future generations is just,
yeah.
it's so
Well, I
beautiful.
didn't even think about that now until you said it, of like, okay, well, grandkids are going to read this, and great grandkids, and now it's just out there kind of forever, isn't it? So interesting.
Yep.
Yep.
And it's only gonna, and the thing is that, it's, so your book, when you first published it, took off and it's still ranked. How many weeks has it been?
I launched on the 4th, so
Yeah. So
couple,
like less
couple
than 2
3.
weeks, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and it's still ranked
Yes.
high, which is
Yes.
incredible. And what I
Yes.
find is that, like, as time goes on, it kind of like it has this slow burn, right? And then
Yeah.
it
Yep.
starts to really take off. So it's
Yeah.
it's just going to keep rising in your readership, and
Yeah.
I just wish all of the success for the book, because it's also a tool, right? You have a lot of
Yeah.
tools for people to be able to use that can be their guide map towards
Yeah.
their own, highest and best selves.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, I one thing I keep hearing from people who are reading was like, I've been on social media for 10 years, and there was a time in my life where I wouldn't, eat a cookie without posting it on social media. So like I was an overshare, to be gentle on myself. So there were so many people that are reading that were like, girl, I have followed you for 10 years and I thought I knew everything. And it's just wild how it's always so much deeper, and we never know anybody's like full story or the full,
Mm.
reasoning behind why people show up the way they do, or experiences, or all of these big life things that happened. I did a good job of sharing it, and also I did a good job of like protecting my heart and my family, and
So
you know what I
important.
mean, a lot like
Mhm.
a wall up almost, as I shared on social media. So I think it was really nice writing this book, one, to get it all out, but to also kind of share like, okay, this is why I am who I am, and why I show up now the way I do, and why I speak the way I do, and why my day flows the way it does. It was really
Yeah.
nice being able to give people some more depth.
Yeah, I love that. And especially in a world where um we were encouraged, for 7-second highlight reels and
Yeah.
loops and all of that stuff to show like the thing that's the most
Yeah.
attractive about ourselves, to be able to show the BTS, right? The,
Yeah.
the truth behind all of the other areas of attention, and to
Yeah.
really show the work. I always love someone who is the walking, living, breathing, talking version of what it is that they're serving as,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
As
Yep.
opposed to, what we had talked about
Not.
earlier, just like, read a book and then you're
Yeah.
teaching a course, right? Like it's just
Yep.
not,
Yep.
it just doesn't hit the same. It just
Yeah.
doesn't,
No,
you
you got to
know?
embody it. Yeah.
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 I believe
Well,
that.
I'm just so grateful that you came today and that,
Thank you.
we're able to talk about you and your book and the rawness and the realness of just this texture of your life and how you serve now, right? And so you talked about, the fact that now you help other women who are entrepreneurs to be able to get out there and really serve big.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
is there anything that you feel like is important at this stage in your journey that you have as a message that you want to share?
Mm. I would say I've done a lot of rewiring, like I had said kind of earlier. Like there were deep seasons of my life where, and I don't want to use the word hustle, but like there was that hustle mentality or that urgency or that desperation behind showing up and doing the things. And over the last couple of years, I have been in a serious slowdown, and it's been a painful slowdown because I think, breaking out of that like hustle mentality and accomplishing and accomplishing and accomplishing, and then you go into this slowdown, and it was one of the hardest shifts I've made in my lifetime so far. And
Mhm.
um that slowdown, I think, is where I thrive now. And that's where when I coach women, that's where I try to usher them into, is that like, okay, life is always going to happen. I think we're just constantly on this like up and down wave that is life, this life that we chose, and helping women slow down so that they can not only listen to their intuition, but figure out what they're actually working towards and what is my vision. And if that is my vision, what are the steps I need to start taking towards that, and not the hustle steps or the filling all my time with things steps, but like there is no rush,
Mhm.
right? I think that's my message. If I have this vision and this is what I'm working towards, then that vision is happening. I'm currently showing up every single day for that. So it's allowed me to take the rush out of my day. It's
Yeah.
allowed me to sit down and work when I want to work, or when I'm supposed to
Mhm.
work, or when I need to work, and to connect with women, and then shut work off and play with my dogs or go ride my horses or sit and have dinner with my kids, and I'm not stressed about all of the different roles I'm supposed to be playing, because I know my vision is happening. It's out there. I've put it out there. I'm manifesting it, right? I'm working towards it. Um, so releasing that urgency or that desperation to accomplish, I think, has been life-giving.
I love that.
Really.
I love that. Yes. Rest is part of the business plan to
Mm,
success.
yeah. And
It's
rest has
gotta
many
be.
forms, right? Like
Yeah.
I say that and people are like, oh, I don't know if I can sit. And I'm like, rest doesn't, it looks like there's so many different versions of rest, from a nap to going out and taking a walk or going snowboarding or going riding horses, or like it can be
Yeah.
so many different things.
Mhm.
I talk a lot about that recharge and following what lights you up and living in joy and doing those things that are bringing you joy, because I think that's where so much of our direction comes from, and when
Yeah.
our intuition is really loud during those
Yeah.
moments, and
Yeah.
just makes the course a lot more clear, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Yes. Yay for that message. Yay. I love it. I can't wait for people to hear this and to meet you and
Oh,
in our community. One last question. I really want to know, I think it's important for us to share, and I think you're probably going to be right on par with this, but it's really important to share how we're doing now.
mm, mm,
So I want you for real
mm.
to let me know. You can even just share like, one positive and one uncomfortable emotion that you're experiencing right
Mm,
now, or just like in general, if you can summarize, how are you right now?
yeah. Have you read that book, How Are You Really? Have you read
No,
that? Oh,
no.
it's so good. It's Jenna Kutcher, but I 10 out of 10 recommend that book, along with my book and along with your book.
Yeah. Yeah.
But um, I am honestly, like, I am just so full of joy right
Mm,
now. Like, joy overflowing. And I don't mean that fake. I don't mean that. I am genuinely joyful. I just started dating someone after falling in love with myself first. So I think that has brought such a different dynamic that I've never felt in my life. Business feels so genuine and authentic for the first time in so long. I have 3 dogs and 2 horses that I just am like in love with.
Mm-hmm.
And my spare time is spent with them, and it's grounding and beautiful, and just I feel good. I feel really good right now.
That's wonderful.
Good.
That's really wonderful.
I'm like, please believe me, because I swear I'm telling the truth. I know when people are like, I'm good, and you're like, but are you really good?
I have no
You
reason to
know?
not believe you.
I True. Fair.
Yeah, I trust it. I trust it. And you have been on this journey for a long time to joy.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
that you saying that you're full of joy doesn't mean that you have everything and everything is perfect. It just means that
Yes.
you are finding joy in the journey, and
Yes.
that's the
Yes.
whole point of this life, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
To bring that harmony, that heaven to this physical body, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so good. Well, Raina,
Thank you.
it's been wonderful having you. Thank you
Thank
so,
you.
so much. And everyone for listening. I hope that you got lots of good nuggets and that you're feeling a little extra joy in your heart, and are going to look to find the joy in the journey as well. And Raina's book is available on Amazon and probably soon Barnes and Noble, correct? No,
Probably soon.
probably soon, but Amazon now.
Yep.
So please go ahead and look up Bear by Raina O'Dell. It's a beautiful cover, by the way, and
Thank you.
fantastic book. And until the next time, please take care of yourselves. Lots of love and peace and light, and keep thriving.